And we are live. Welcome to ESC Fan TV. Thank you so much for joining us. For those on YouTube, those that are listening on the download, those who have subscribed to our iTunes and Spotify accounts, very welcome to join us, and thank you so much for all your support. We really appreciate it. My name's Stuart Wilders. I'm your host for this evening. I'd like to introduce my guests. We have Luke.
Borada.
We have so much for all your support. We have Nicklas.
Dobry wieczór.
And we have Tom.
Hi.
And we may even have Tristan. Tristan's due to join us. He may join us in a little while. But what we're here tonight, it's a very special day. It's the Junior Eurovision Song Contest. We've all been watching. We've all had a fantastic afternoon watching the live final all the way from Minsk in Belarus. Firstly, let's go around and talk to Luke. Luke, what's your opinion of today's show?
Well, I thought it was a good first time watching it. I thought the songs were quite memorable. Frankly, disappointing result for Wales in their debut contest, but I felt it made history being the first Celtic language in years to be on a Eurovision stage.
And Nicklas, your opinion?
Very pleased with the show, definitely. I think the Belarusian broadcaster put on a fantastic show. I was surprised, I guess, that Poland ended up taking the victory, but looking back at the performances, I kind of understand it to some degree.
And Tom, your opinion?
I thought it was superb staging. In actual fact, I think I actually preferred some of the staging to the adult contest, particularly how they had the artist photos. When they had sort of like the tag at the start, and they put up the song name and stuff, they had the artist's photo next to it, and I thought that was actually quite a nice touch.
It's a well-organised show, I thought, actually. I was really impressed, really impressed. I mean, I thought it was as well-organised, if not more, than Lisbon for the main Eurovision show. I thought it was a really well-organised event in full. With 20 really good songs. So we kicked off the afternoon or evening with Ukraine, with Darina with Say Love, Not War. What do we make of Darina? What do we think of the performance, Luke?
I quite liked it. I'm not one who's for Ukrainian entries in the Eurovision Song Contest, but I liked it. I thought it had a nice sound to it. Brilliant staging, and she seemed like a sweet young girl.
Nicklas, your opinion?
I was pleasantly surprised with the vocals. They were a little bit shaky in the original video from the national final, so I was a little scared. But it worked out really well on the stage, and the camera angles definitely it set off the show really well.
Tom, what did you make of Ukraine and the heart teardrops coming up her cheeks?
I wasn't entirely a fan of the Ukraine. However, let's be honest, she sold the song really well. It's a fantastic opening song. It just wasn't my kind of music. I think that's probably the way I'd put it. It's like, it was okay. I liked it. I wouldn't have voted for it personally, but a nice song nevertheless.
Did you enjoy the megaphone?
Nah. Yeah, I wasn't sold.
You weren't sold.
I wasn't sold at all on the Ukraine.
So a little bit on Darina. She was born on the 7th of May 2007 in Ukraine, of course, participated in the 4th season of The Voice Kids. That's a common theme amongst a lot of the performers this year. Back in 2015, she became the online voting winner. Darina has ambitions to become a world-class singer. Some would argue she's already on her way. She wrote the song. I think that's really important. It wasn't written for her. And of course, Ukraine debuted in Junior Eurovision Song Contest back in 2006. Haven't missed a beat since. They've been in every show. And of course, famously won in 2012 with the song Nebo. Finishing 4th, not a bad result for them at all. And it was the opener. Typically, opening songs don't do very well in any contest, in fact. So, you know, overall, I liked it. I thought it was a good opener. One of my favorites of the contest, in fact, and certainly didn't do Ukraine. She did Ukraine very proud. Absolutely. So, yeah, good start to the show, I felt. Portugal. So Portugal, of course, hosted the full Eurovision Song Contest back in May. Rita sang the song Gosto de Judo. I have no idea if I've pronounced that correctly. Probably not. Apologies to anyone Portuguese that may be watching this. It's literally translated as I like everything, but it clearly not my translations. It wasn't written by Rita. It's written by João So. Rita was born on the 3rd of March 2005 in Sintra. She has a grade 4 in violin, orchestra, musical training, and choir. Very talented young lady at the Sintra Music Conservatoire. Rita also takes piano lessons at the Academia Helia de Musica. She performs in musicals with all sorts of famous artists from Portugal, and sang in last year's New Year's celebrations for her own city. It's Portugal's second year in a row since withdrawing back in 2008, and they've never won. Luke, what did you make of the Portuguese song?
In all honesty, I don't like saying this, but I thought it was quite forgettable.
Quite forgettable.
Forgettable, yeah. I just I couldn't really remember much of the performance. The song was fairly bland, and I just didn't get into it.
I remember the black. I think it was a black and starry dress. I couldn't recite you the song, to be perfectly honest. So I'm sort of with you on that, I think.
Yeah.
Nicklas, what do you make of Portugal?
You know, I'm going to go a little against the norm here, I suppose. I liked the performance way more than I thought I would, because the song, I agree, is completely forgettable, but she sold it pretty well. I think she had the charisma that the song needed. I don't understand the chair, though. Why did they need to have a chair on stage so she could sit on it once, and that was it? That was all that was needed for the performance. I didn't get that part, but I think she sold it pretty well for a very mediocre song.
I thought the chair was green, and then they sort of cut away the lights, and suddenly it was yellow. And to this day, I couldn't say whether they changed the chair or whether it was just bad lighting or good lighting. But I agree with you. Weird, very strange use of props there. Tom, thoughts?
I quite like this one. I thought it had a nice beat to it. I thought it had a nice melody to it. Yes, it was a bit forgettable. What didn't deserve 0 points on that jury vote at all, which it got. But also they had some of the nice effects as well, because they put the phone and stuff in, so she was almost like on an iPhone screen. So it was trying to be trendy as well, I thought, during that performance.
Yeah, they pulled off the effect pretty well. I was surprised that it worked as well as it did.
It worked. I thought it worked quite well.
Yeah, it did. It did work well. Sadly, though, the jurors and the televote didn't agree. Finished 18th out of 20th. Such is life. Can't win them all. You hosted a great Eurovision in Lisbon, but yeah, not this time. So third of the night was the favourite going in, Kazakhstan, with Daniela, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. It literally translates as "seize the time." Luke, what were your thoughts?
A sensational performance, and I think for Kazakhstan, who have longed to be in the Eurovision Song Contest, this was their night. I felt, well, this afternoon really, I felt they gave a fantastic performance. It was great to finally hear the Kazakhstan language performed on a Eurovision stage. The camera angles were pretty damn impressive, and I just thought the performance itself I was blown away by it.
It was. I mean, for a debut performance for Kazakhstan, it was a fantastic song and performance. Of course, Kazakhstan trying to get into the full Eurovision Song Contest. They've made claim that they would like to become a full EBU member. Would like to take part in the Eurovision next year at the earliest. Nicklas, what were your thoughts on Kazakhstan?
I was surprised that the jury didn't rank it higher than they did. It finished 8th with the jury. I think it had everything that it needed to succeed, and I don't think they could have done anything better on their debut entry. But I suppose it's just because they need to become part of the Eurovision family before they can really get the points. But one thing I do want to mention is that she actually won the same season of The Voice Kids Ukraine that Darina was taking part in. So that's pretty cool. But I like the performance.
Yeah, she's born in 2006 in Astana. She's focusing on maths in her local school. She's very bright. She's a top student in maths. She's a fan of ballroom dancing and contemporary dance. As you said, she took part in the Voice Kids in Ukraine in 2017 and was the first non-Ukrainian to win. She wrote the song. Another young singer that's written the song. It's not been written for her. And of course, Kazakhstan's first ever time in a Eurovision type show. Tom, how did you find Kazakhstan?
I mean, let's face it. I agree with Nicklas. She couldn't have done any more than she did to try and sell that song. The staging was great as a debut entry. It was fine. I still didn't necessarily rate it. I didn't think it was, the favourite in my eyes. Somewhat controversially, I think, in this ring.
It's a matter of taste, Tom.
It is. It was a great debut performance. The one thing I would disagree with is that I don't think they have to become part of the Eurovision family to pick up the points eventually, because I think if a song is good enough, then people will vote for it. And the same with the juries. I think they will vote for it if it's a decent song. I mean, let's look at in the adult contest, for example, where Australia have come in and the juries have voted for that straight away. Guy Sebastian got 5th, didn't he, when he went in first time for Australia. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they produce next year as well, I think.
So, because Kazakhstan finished 6th, so not a bad debut for them. It's a good result. Maybe they might have thought we could have finished higher, but 6 can't be sniffed at. It's a good result, and if they do want to get into Eurovision, it's not a bad place to start.
They definitely put in the work to make sure that they could take part. I saw the national final. I know how much money and effort they spent to show the EBU that they want to become part of this.
And what's bizarre is if the EBU have given Australia rights to be in the contest, why they're not giving Kazakhstan the rights to be in the contest?
Yeah. Well, I think they will eventually. I mean, money talks. They want to play a part in it. Jon Olasand is hell bent on having about 50 semi-finals. By the time I'm an old man, so I mean, the contest will start in January at some point and finish in some point end of May. We all know that's coming.
Yeah,
they've been in the talks with Kaba Agency, the Kazakhstani broadcaster again. So it does look like they're working on something behind the scenes.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we were talking last week about Australia and the Eurovision Asia Vision. Was it Asia Vision or Eurovision Asia Song Contest? And the fact they're going to be in Eurovision in May and then Eurovision Asia again in November, December next year. And whether they should take part. But, I think it's great to have as many countries take part as possible. I have no issues with Australia taking part. I have no issues with Kazakhstan taking part. But at some point, that Eurovision week, for those of us that go, and some of us that don't go but want to watch it on TV, that becomes a very, 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 very long week. Or 2 weeks now, possibly 3 or 4. In fact, let's have Eurovision all year round. Who's going to complain about that?
Yay!
Right, so we move on to song 4, Albania, with Effie and the song Barbie. So Effie's 10. She can sing, compose, play the piano, act, dance, ballet, and paint, strangely, it says here. Effie composed the song Barbie, and her mother wrote the lyrics. The lyrics to Barbie were inspired by the relationship she has with her mother. Albania have... hold your laughter. Albania have participated 5 times, including this year, have never won, and their highest ever position was 5th back in 2016. Well, we all know they finished 3rd last this afternoon. So what do we make of Barbie, Luke?
Well, I thought it was a sweet entry. It was nicely written and nicely performed, but I do think it always has the same thing that every Albanian entry has, not just in junior Eurovision, but of course in senior Eurovision. I don't think it has that oomph that many countries are hoping Albania would bring. I mean, there was that. I mean, from the senior one in 2012, the Screaming Lady. That was one which I
Seuss,
thought.
I think you're thinking of.
Seuss, that's it, Seuss.
I will never forget the snake wrapped around her head.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Great song, though, wasn't it, Zeus? It's one of those ones. It's an earworm, isn't it? It sticks in there. And given that was several years ago, it's still in there, unfortunately.
Yeah, completely. But then it didn't have oomph to win. In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it didn't win, and that's forever a fan favourite, but alas, didn't manage to do it for Albania. Nicklas, what do you think of Barbie?
So I really like this as one of the very few people, and I voted for it as well. I quite like the Albanian entries. I was also a big fan of Don't Touch My Tree last year, so maybe I just like the style that Albania is sending. But I think it's cute. I think it's fun, and I think it deserves to be there. Maybe not necessarily win, but I think it deserves to be there, and I like listening to it just for the fun of it. It's my guilty pleasure, I suppose. And she does perform it pretty well. She has the charisma and everything.
She definitely performed it well. Absolutely, it was a good stage performance. Tom, did you like Barbie?
Good stage performance, but I'll be honest, I found it quite forgettable. I had
controversial
of what it was, because I was like, it was one of those songs I just can't recall. Didn't stick instantly. Sorry.
Well, it finished 17th out of 20th, so the tally voters didn't agree either, or did agree that they didn't like it. Next up was Russia with Anna and the song Unbreakable, which was written by Taras Demchuk. Anna was born in the 9th of November 2004. She began training at a local theatre at 2 years old. In 2017, she took part in a television show called Battle of the Talents. She's fairly well known in Russia. She's the host of 2 children's shows, Children's Morning Post and Hot 10. Has won numerous awards and is the winner of the first degree of the international festival competition Costa del Art, which took place in Spain. Russia, Unbreakable. Luke, what do you think?
Well, I've got to be honest. I can never ever fault a Russian entry, apart from in the senior one of this year, of course. But no, it not for well, other than finishing bad, but apart from that,
they sent the same song. The song that was sung at Eurovision was "I Won't Break," and this was "Unbreakable." Yeah. I swear, someone just came up with the same concept and just changed the lyrics.
That is possible, but I mean, Anya, she's a talented individual, and as you said, she's big in Russia, but she herself is a gymnast, and the performance, she could do a lot of things on stage. For a 14-year-old, and for Russia, it's a much better improvement on, I think, this year's entry and in the senior contest. And I think Russia, there wasn't any booing going on in the crowds, which was
great. It was great to see no booing. We don't want booing at Eurovision, especially not junior Eurovision.
Yeah, the Twins suffered enough in 2014 with that.
They did, and undeserved. Nicklas, did you like Russia?
I think it's pretty forgettable. I always follow the Russian selection. In fact, I follow a lot of what's going on with like children's song contests in Russia. I don't know why, but it's what's caught my attention. So I know they have a bunch of great singers, and this just it didn't do it for me. I think it was the best in their national selection, but it didn't do it for me, and I don't know. Usually I like the Russian entries, exception of 2015. That's a whole other story. But no, it didn't do it for me.
And Tom, was it unforgettable? Unforgettable for you?
Oh no, I quite like this. I thought it was. I agree with Luke. I mean, the Russians always send a good quality entry, and this was no exception at all. I thought this was solid. She knew what she was doing. She sold the song well. What you would expect, a very good professional performance.
Yeah, and they do agree. They usually sing great songs, except this year at main Eurovision.
Definitely.
Yes.
I feel sorry for Julia.
I did too. I did too. Yeah. So It finished 10th. It finished right down the centre of the voting, 10th position out of 20th. So we move on to Netherlands. Netherlands, Max and Anne with the song Samen or Samen, and it translates as together. They didn't write the song; it was written for them. Max is 14, lives in Houten. Max is deaf in one ear. It says here he has his own YouTube channel where he has many viewers, and is 14 from Voorschuten. She has performed in Anastasia and The Sound of Music, and has ambitions to represent the Netherlands at the full Eurovision Song Contest one day. Netherlands has participated 6 times in Junior Eurovision and won back in 2009 with the song Click Clack. For any Junior Eurovision fans will remember that song back in 2009. Luke, what did you make of the Netherlands?
A very sweet entry and a good try. There was a boy and girl. I wouldn't say they sold the song well. It was mediocre, but it was nice enough and innocent to come across on stage. And funny you should say that, because when you mentioned about Anne wanting to go for the senior contest. Another interesting fact is Origini were in the Junior Eurovision many years ago, and then they went to Eurovision for the Netherlands in 2017.
That's a good fact to know.
Yeah.
Nicklas, what do you think of the Netherlands?
I think they sold it live pretty well. Definitely better than in the national selection. I don't really. The song isn't anything for me, but I think they pull it off well. I think what ruined is that it's very clear that they've been put together as a group. They auditioned separately together by the producers, and I think that shines through. That they are both strong vocalists and they want to show off their vocal capabilities, and sometimes they're just kind of screaming at each other to show who can sing the best. But other than that, I think it was okay, and I think I'm surprised it didn't do better with the televote after what we saw last year. But I guess that's a good thing. It shows that the system sort of works.
Yeah, I mean, Netherlands finished 13th out of 20th, so yeah, they didn't really do as well as perhaps they hoped. I don't know. There's certainly a lack of Western countries in the Junior Eurovision this year. I mean, yourself, you're from Denmark. Denmark didn't participate. Sweden and Norway haven't participated. The UK hasn't participated as a full UK. I can see Luke twitching. He wants to comment about Wales. We'll get to Wales shortly. But you look at Germany, didn't participate. Only France and Portugal, really, that I can think of, unless I've missed any out. So yeah, there's a lack of Western vote this year, and I think you saw that from the difference of the juries to the televote. We'll come back to that later. So Azerbaijan were next with the song "I Want to Be Like You" by Fidan. Song was written for her. She was born on the 24th of November 2005 in Moscow. Currently 6th grade in piano in Baku. Fidan has performed alongside Lara Fabian. Some Eurovision fans will remember Lara Fabian back from 1988 for Luxembourg. It says here she's a great chess player. Fancy a game? She's won several awards, including a championship in 2017. Right, she's some serious chess player. Azerbaijan have taken part one time only in 2013. So sadly, they finished 16th out of 20th. What do we make of Azerbaijan, Luke?
I thought, Azerbaijan, I don't know. In recent years, I've started to find Azerbaijan entries go from up there thinking brilliant to sort of down the toilet in a way. And this entry, I didn't see anything special in it. It was just your average song and maybe just your average staging, but nothing special.
And Nicklas, your thoughts?
This really grew on me. I didn't like it to begin with, but with the whole new instrumental that they did and everything, I quite liked it, and I was pretty happy with the performance. I do find it funny, however, that they basically just took their staging and their costume from the adult Eurovision and just gave it to her, and that was just it. If you compare the images, you will see how similar it is to Cross My Heart. So that was pretty funny.
And Tom?
This was my favourite entry of the night. I really liked this one. I just liked the way it was presented. I liked the song. I thought it was simple. I mean, and I agree with Luke that, Azerbaijan entries in the main have been very difficult to get on board with lately. This totally surprised me. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think Azerbaijan they've taken a backward step of late in the main Eurovision. Of course, we have to separate the two out somewhat, but I think, yeah, they perhaps do need to step their game up a bit.
Yeah, I think it's something to do because wasn't it that not that long ago people were accusing them of cheating in the event, and I think they've been trying to say to people, no, we can send entries that maybe you don't like, but we like them, and doesn't prove what Europe are thinking about them.
And Belarus were next on with the song, of course, they're the host nation, Belarus. Daniel sang the song Time. Daniel's 14 years old. He's participated in Ukraine's Got Talent, Children's New Wave, and The Voice Kids, another The Voice Kids participant. Daniel can't imagine life without music. I'm sure that was a song from Germany from 1999, wasn't it? Just going back a few years. Was it 99? No, it wasn't 99, was it? It was 2002. 2002, thank you very much. She did take part in 99. I think she came second in the German national final. God, I feel really sad right now.
She got qualified.
She got disqualified. Yeah, good memory. Good memory. Absolutely. What was her name? What was her name?
Karina May.
Karina May. Yeah, I can't live without music.
Yeah, I'm way too young to remember any of this.
Yeah, I think go and look it up, Nicklas. But you're definitely not missing anything.
Yeah, don't bother.
She sang "I Can't Live Without Music," and Eurovision said, "We can." Goodbye. So back with Daniel and Belarus. He also takes part in sports and loves to travel. Belarus have participated 16 times. That's every single song contest for junior song contest, that is, have won twice, back in 2005 and 2007. The host nation, Belarus, what do we think of Time? Sorry, Luke, what do we think of Time?
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have to say this, and well, for the host nation, I really loved it. This was, but by when we had Azerbaijan, I was almost half asleep. But then when Belarus came on, the song just wowed me, and it's at that point he started to sing in English. I just thought, whoa, this is all new to me. The camera I loved how the cameras just faded in and out of him. The performance was amazing, and I loved how the audience just cheered when Belarus got their 12 points in the jury voting.
Nicklas, did Time do it for you?
I liked it, and it was one of my favorites in the national selection. So I was pretty happy when it won. I still don't understand the English parts. I think he's very hard to understand in English, and I think the staging was maybe a bit too much. They really tried to cram everything in there, given that it was the host country entry. But yeah, I liked it.
And Tom, Belarus, did you have time for Belarus?
Oh, that's a bad one.
That was great. It's a Sunday night joke. Come on, it's getting late.
To be fair, I had time for Belarus. You can tell they've been in the game of junior Eurovision for a long time. A very professional performance, and the way it was staged, the song, the performance, I thought it was all there. Go very good account of themselves.
Yeah, I think overall it was a good song. I mean, they finished 11th, so just outside the top 10, just on the right-hand side of the scoreboard. So, as a host nation, not too bad, but not too great either. So moving on to Ireland. So first of the Irish and Welsh connection, we had Taylor with IOU. So Taylor's 14. He wrote the song. He's in his third year at secondary school. He currently plays Ryan in High School Musical over in Ireland for his local drama society. He will be in The Wizard of Oz over Christmas in his local pantomime. If anyone wants to get tickets for it, you can do. I'm not going to give you the link because I don't know the link. Ireland participated 4 times, have never won Junior Eurovision. What do we think of IOU? Did anyone actually get it? Because I couldn't understand it at all. I'll be honest and say that I have no idea what was going on there at all.
I don't think he's ever explained what IOU means, so I don't think anyone knows.
Well, I think IOU means I owe you money usually. But I
don't think that's what it's about.
No, I don't. But when I was a student, I'd frequently give IOUs and then do a runner. But I'm not sure that quite has the same meaning. Luke, what was your thoughts on Ireland's entry?
Well, I thought the first thing was he should have got a haircut.
I saw the rage. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, okay. Other than that, I'm thinking, because I'm not revealing too much because Wales is coming up in a bit, but I felt a little bit cheated by the fact that was able to score points. I mean, it was done in a Celtic language, which is brilliant because Ireland are actually showing their true selves in the Junior Eurovision and giving the Celtic language, the Irish language, to the audience. But I felt it wasn't a great performance. The song was quite forgettable, and I just didn't get in with the performance.
Nicklas, what did you make of Ireland's effort?
I mean, it's fun. I think that's all I can say about it. This was the first year that I didn't follow the selection in Ireland, so I didn't really get attached to the song that much. I really like the Irish language, so I usually enjoy the selection, but didn't really bother watching it this year. I don't know, it's all right, but I agree. I don't see why this was the one getting points and not Wales, because I think Wales had a better performance in the end.
And Tom, what did you make of it?
I just seemed a bit out of place, really. I think the song seemed out of place. I thought the artist just seemed a bit out of place. In the context of all the other acts and things, it just seemed to be standing out just for all the wrong reasons, kind of thing. I wasn't a fan.
Did you think? Did anyone, was it just me, or did anyone sort of think when they suddenly had the disco balls showing that we were going to break into Dustin the Turkey? I swear down. I was sitting there thinking, have I just pressed play on a previous Eurovision Song Contest?
Well, they did get 12 jury points in total, so I guess it was Irland de Douzepoint.
Yeah. I thought it was okay. I had to say it wasn't my favourite. I know people that really like this song. It wasn't my personal favourite, but I can't deny I'm tapping my foot to it. Even now, I'm going da 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 da. I owe you, because that's the only bit I know. Anyway, 15th out of 20th. So not that many people really liked it. So never mind Ireland, next year maybe. So moving on to Serbia. So Serbia with Bojana with the song Svet, which means world. Bojana is 13 years old, currently in the final year of elementary school in Belgrade. She's a straight A student. She was in the super finalist of a major singing competition in Serbia. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. It goes on forever, the words. Serbia participated 9 times in Junior Eurovision since 2006. The best results were in 2007 and 10, where they came third both times. What do we make of Svet, Luke?
It was a harmless entry. I'm someone who likes Serbian music. This song, I felt it had a nice performance to it. It just had that sort of nice touch that every Serbian entry is bringing to a Eurovision, or indeed a junior Eurovision. But I do think it is bringing that touch too many. And I think when people do listen to Serbian entries nowadays, they do think, yeah, they're always sounding the same over and over again. And I think maybe it was maybe just running out of steam, sort of.
Nicklas?
So Serbia is one of my favorite Junior Eurovision countries. They've been my winner twice, but this year I was so disappointed. The singer is great, but the song really doesn't go anywhere, and we've heard it a million times before. It really didn't do it for me.
And Tom?
It's right. So I'm almost thinking a bit of Terry Wogan here. Terry Wogan made the comment during some songs, This is the type of song where you really start to notice the staging. Haven't so-and-so done a fantastic job staging the contest? And that was the kind of thing with Serbia, because the one thing I remember is the fantastic camera angle with sort of like the globe, and she's almost like standing on the top of the world. And I can't really remember the song. I think
so a thumbs down for Serbia from us, by the sound of things, and from the voters. 19th out of 20th. So moving on to Italy with Melissa and Marco. What is love? Melissa De Pasca is 10. She lives in Alessio, took part in the musical company Riviera Musical at the age of 6 and has been a successful young artist in Italy ever since. Marco Boni is 14 and attending high school. They both wrote the song together with 2 other songwriters. Italy have participated 4 times at Junior Eurovision and won in their debut in 2014. Did we like What Is Love, Luke?
Well, I have to say, I honestly thought when we heard "What Is Love," I thought this isn't going to be a knockoff of Hadaway now, is it? And I think Italy are really, in recent years, they've really been showing their true connections with the Eurovision. This song really gave it all. I felt, I always have a soft spot for duets, and this one really did give me a soft spot. I just loved, both of their connect. The 2 of them had a great chemistry on stage, and I think that's what really brought the song together with the audience alike and the jurors.
Nicklas, did you like the Italian song?
I think it's cute. I think that's all I can say. It does seem a little weird, a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old singing about love. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. It felt a little bit uncomfortable, but other than that, I think the staging was simple and nice, so I can't say anything bad about it.
Tom, so Italy, did it work for you?
I'd say this was a typical Italian entry, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought the one thing, in some ways, which actually did the Netherlands a disservice, is that it was a duet along similar lines, and Italy pulled it off far better than the Netherlands did. And I think that was the key point for me. But no, very enjoyable song, and yeah, I've got a soft spot for Italian entries anyway. I quite like Italian music, so.
Me too, and I thought it took me back to Italy 1990s. The sort of song that they were sending before they withdrew to early 90s. Good effort. They finished 7th, so they'd be pleased with that, I'm sure. Moving on to Australia. So Australia, we talked about earlier, will host the Eurovision Asia Vision Song Contest next November, December time, as well as take part in May in the Eurovision Song Contest proper. Jael took part today with the song Champion. Jael is 12. She's from Melbourne. She's been singing since the age of 4. She loves hip hop, pop, contemporary, and gospel music. She's often asked to lead a 100-strong choir at her local school. The song was written by M Squared, which I understand is mushroom music, and have a number of high quality, well-known Australian artists on their books. So they've written the song for her. Australia participated 4 times, have never won. Came very close today, a bit like they did with Davies in Eurovision a couple of years ago. Came 3rd in 2017 in the Junior Eurovision. Australia, were they robbed, Luke?
I've got to be honest, and I know that I'm often someone who's made very unpopular comments about Australia in the Eurovision, but yes, I do think she was robbed. This girl had so much energy on stage. Her performance, was just wild. I mean that in a good way, of course. She really gave the song everything on stage, and I do think, like Davies, she was robbed.
Nicklas, what did you make of Australia?
When the song came on my Spotify this morning, I was like, which edition was this from? Because I think I've heard this before, but I don't quite remember. And I think that says all. This really didn't do it for me. It was forgettable, and I don't think, compared to everyone else, I think the staging was uninteresting. I don't think vocally she was stronger than any of the other kids. So I didn't get why it placed so high, other than the fact that it's Australia and they always do well with the juries.
And Tom, was Australia robbed?
In short, no. fascinating fact. Must have been used one that used to provide the background tracks in the coffee shop for neighbours. And I think in a way that says it all. If I was Jessica Moorboy, I'd probably be irritated that this got a lot of points and she didn't. It's an attempt to emulate her performance, I thought. It's not that I disliked the song, it was that I just thought it could have done with being about 3 semitones higher for her voice, because it seemed like she was singing in her boots. And so she had all this energy, she was trying to sell this song, it was really good, but it just didn't show her off enough. So I think, third place is a reasonable showing. I'd agree with third.
Well, I thought this was the song of the night. I thought this was by far the best performance. It was the song that I was expecting to do better than was expected coming into the show. And yet again, Australia have been pipped at the post. When are they going to win a Eurovision Song Contest? Are they ever? Is that why we now have 2 in a year for them? Because they have to win it at some point. So Australia failed again. They'll keep continuing. No doubt at some point they'll win a contest. And fingers crossed we'll all be going to Melbourne or Sydney at some point for Eurovision. I know that's a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. It'll be Germany or London. So, but it'd be great to go. It'd be great to go to Australia. Georgia's next with Tamar with the song "Your Voice." She was born in May 2005. She's 13. She's a 7th grader. In 2016, she joined the music studio Face. There she was selected for the Georgian X Factor, where she reached the semi-final. Georgia have participated 11 times, the most successful country in Junior Eurovision ever. They've won 3 times back in 2008, 2011 and 2016. Did Georgia's Your Voice do it for you, Luke?
Well, I've got to be honest. It did it for me, but it got the place. I think it got the place it was right. I think I preferred Georgia more in the Junior Eurovision than in the Adult Eurovision, because at least in the Junior Eurovision, Georgia are expressing their true identity, whereas over in the adult version, they're often getting songwriters from various different countries to compose their entries, such as Sweden, for instance. This one, I think, stuck to the true identity of Georgia, and I thought, as usual, it was a good song for Junior Eurovision level.
And Nicklas, your thoughts on Georgia?
I think they always pull it off pretty well in Junior Eurovision. They've always been up there, and there's a reason why they've won so many times. This was in my top 5 coming into the show, and it is still in my top 5. I think it stands out because it is a different musical style than some of the other songs, and the performance was perfect. She sounded exactly like she did in the music video, so very pleased with Georgia.
And Tom?
Yeah, solid song. I mean, you can tell they're very professional at it. I liked it. I think I agree with Luke. They're showing off their actual identity here. Whereas in the adult version, sometimes it's almost like they're trying to make too much effort to stand out. Whereas here, the balance is brilliant. I love what they do with their accent.
And next up is Israel with the song "Children Like These" by Noam. 13 years old. He started singing at 5 years old. Participated in the Israeli TV show Masterclass at the age of 10. Israel participated twice before and never won. Israel, Luke, what were your thoughts?
Oh, I really wanted this to win. But I say that, of course, because I wanted to see what it'd be if Israel won this, as well as having to host the Eurovision next year as well. I thought this was an okay entry. I never thought it had winner written on it. It sort of so. Yeah, I can't really remember much about it, other than the fact I wanted it to win just to see Israel host this in the junior.
It was certainly a very authentic Israeli song, I felt.
Yes, very authentic.
Yeah. And Nicklas, Israel, was that one of your favourites?
I wouldn't say so. I think I'll give them points for sticking to their style. And you could definitely tell this was an Israeli entry, which I think they're moving a bit more towards that now. Also with their winner in Lisbon, I think they're moving more again towards the more Israeli entries rather than just being another, hey, we have the song from Sweden country. I'll give them props for that, but other than that, I don't think the song really did anything for me. And also just I can't really get over the fact that the song was already commercially released in Israel and was already a hit there back in the summer, and they just made a cover of it for Junior Vision, essentially.
And Tom, Israel, what were your thoughts with Israel? You had something to say on this, didn't you?
Yeah, this was my last place. This was the one that I didn't like the most. I thought the vocal wasn't very good. I just didn't think it was sold very well. Yeah, it was my toilet break. I'm sorry. That makes me a bad person. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna contradict you and say, well, it was fantastic, and he was the best of the night. So moving on to France. Now he's a good young lad, and I'm sure he's going to do very well. France with Angelina and Never Without You. Of course, France came second, pretty much out of nowhere. She was one of the favourites going in, so perhaps not a surprise that she did so well in the end. She's born in the south of France. She's 12 years old. It says here she never stops singing, even when she's brushing her teeth. I'm not quite sure how that works.
That sounds a bit hard to do. But
yeah, it sounds a bit messy.
Yeah, so that as well.
Jamais Sans Toi is a song about friendship. France last competed in 2004. Bit of a scandal. They said that too much Eurovision kills Eurovision. We don't want to take part. Remove our name from the hat. We will never be back. 2018, 14 years later, they've decided to rejoin Eurovision. And of course, came second, so I'm sure they're back to stay. What do we think of Jamais Sans Toi, Luke?
Well, I think starting off with their back has probably got a lot to do with their recent record in the adult contest. This, I honestly hoped would win the contest. I really like this entry. I love the background. I love the background dancers in it. The performance was just out of this way. It is like your average French Eurovision entry, only except sung by a kid. And I was very disappointed it didn't win. I thought had it won, this would have been a move back into the centre ground of Europe, back to France's long sick victory that they've waited for.
They have been waiting some time. Nicklas, have you been practicing the dance moves?
I don't think you want to see that, but I really loved the song. I've loved it from the beginning. It was my second coming into the contest. I think I'm glad that they put so much effort into this. I've called her Elma Junior from the beginning because it definitely had a lot of the same energy as Elma did a couple of years ago on the adult Eurovision. But I really liked it. I really liked the effort put into it, and it's fun, it's cute, it's catchy, and I think it appeals to both kids and adults. So I see why it did so well.
Yeah, I get the Alma reference. Tom, thoughts on France, Le France?
The performance of the night, Stuart. This was the one that I think. I mean, let's face it, those kids had an absolute ball on stage, didn't they? I mean, it was so much fun. I thought it was brilliant from start to finish. And you know what? The Eiffel Tower in the background as well just added to that. I just thought they'd captured it perfectly. Should have won.
They did. And were they fortnight dance moves? I've got to ask. Do we know? Were they fortnight?
No, I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of, at least.
Yeah. Maybe just made up. Macedonia next with Maria and the song Doma, which translates as home. Maria's 13. She's born in Skopje. Started singing at the age of 4 years old. Won Macedonia's Junior Eurovision national final in August of this year. A song was written by Darko Dimitrov, Elena Riteska, and Macedonia have never achieved higher than 5th at Junior Eurovision. They've participated 13 times. Of course, never won, but their best result was, as I say, 5th back in 2007 and 2008. Luke, did you like Doma?
interesting entry, but I think Macedonia are trying a little bit too hard in Junior Eurovision, and I think they can get the right performance, but I think they're just throwing too much at the performance on stage, hoping for a victory. I really wanted to see this do well, but I felt something was missing.
And Nicklas, did you like Domo? Did that do it for you?
I don't feel like it really connected with me. I think I had a bit of a problem with her from the beginning, because one of the first things you see in the performance is just her sitting on the stage and you have the word sadness behind her. It didn't connect with me. I don't think she really connected with the audience. I think it was a very, like you already said, it's a very produced song, and Macedonia definitely know what they want to achieve here, but they've tried really hard for the past couple of years, and they've ended just outside of top 10 every time. So maybe it's time to try something new.
And Macedonia, Tom, was that on your top 5 list?
No, it didn't work. I thought I'd probably agree. They've tried too hard. And in some ways, I think they actually tried to make her look too adult, actually, I think, for the contest. I think they'd lost sight of what Junior Eurovision is about, in contrast to the adult competition. And I think that didn't bode well for them on the scoreboard either.
I love this. I've total contradiction to you guys. I absolutely adore this. Black coat. It took me back to Croatia in 1998. The coat comes off. It's a white dress. What a fantastic song. Macedonia, you must send this type of song to main Eurovision. If you want to qualify, send Doma. That's what I've got to say about that. Maybe just me, but I thought this was a contender. It wasn't. It finished 12th. So
in adult Eurovision.
Sorry?
It probably would have done better in adult Eurovision.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I think it's a great song, but you know, it finished 12th, so not everyone agreed. Armenia next with Levon, with the song Levon. It finished 9th. Levon is 12, born in Yerevan in Armenia. He's participated in The Voice Kids. I think they all have, haven't they? This is a real common theme here. He's won many music competitions and festivals all over Armenia and also internationally. The song was written by Artem Valter. Armenia have participated 12 times and won in 2010 with the song Mama. Levon, Luke. What was it for you?
I've got to be honest. This was my tea break song, so I didn't really listen to this entry or see the performance, but from the recap I saw, it didn't appeal to me.
You weren't keen on his green suit?
Not really, no. It was like when Belarus in the main contest dressed up as the Doctor Who cosplay not that long ago.
Nicklas, the green suit man from Armenia, did it work for you?
He definitely had the charisma, and I think his plays. He finished 9th, and I think that's what fit the song pretty well. It was an okay song, it was an okay performance. I think Armenia they used to be like one of the powerhouses of JESC, and I feel like, especially after last year, they've just gone down a bit. And I followed the national selection in Armenia this year, and there were really no songs there that had any chance of winning the Junior Eurovision. So I think a 9th place is a good for them. And
Tom, lastly, what were your thoughts on Armenia?
It was typical mid-table fodder, really, wasn't it? It wasn't really bad. It wasn't really good. It was just, it was a bit, take it or leave it type.
But I think he wins the award for charisma of the night. I thought he was superb, and he's got a future, hasn't he, that boy? Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him in the main Eurovision at some point in the next sort of 10 years or so. Definitely got something. So next, Luke's ready for this, aren't you, Luke? You're getting prepared.
I am, yes.
The floor is almost yours. So next up was Wales with Matt. How do you say her name?
Manuel.
Matt, thank you. With the song Perta, which I understand is it Perta?
It is, and Diane, I must say, Stuart. with the pronunciation.
Go on. I'm just going to give the floor to you. Tell us about Wales, Luke.
Oh well. What can I say? Wales. This is, you know, they finally joined the Eurovision family. They were part of Eurovision Choir of the Year last year. This has been a 50-year wait for Wales to share their music on a Eurovision stage. And what can I say? I felt, you know, the performance, it really did tell a story, how the camera angle just sort of faded open, and at the end, how it just faded closed. I loved the background. And Manuel had, you know, she was just brilliant on stage, and the dance routine was epic. But I think what killed it for her, and I really don't want to say this, was right at the end. I noticed as she was trying to hit that high note, she did go a little bit flat, and I don't know if that probably is what ruined it for the night. But I really loved this entry, and I wanted it to do, hand on heart, much, much better, and it really deserved a better place.
Well said. Nicklas, from your point of view, Wales. Now Luke's had his say. Go on, it's total rage.
Well, first of all, let me just say, Misha should have won the national selection of Wales. That's just my opinion. That being said, I think it's a fantastic debut entry. I think she performed it well. I really liked the staging. I really liked the colors. It was very true to Wales, I imagine, with my limited knowledge of Welsh culture. But no, I really liked it. And I think it stood out. But I think that was also its weak point in some way. That I think countries in Eastern Europe, they look at this and they think, well, we can't really relate to this. So I think that's why it didn't so well. It's a very Eastern contest, and it's a shame because I think this would have done like way better if there were more Western countries in the contest that could have voted for this, because it is cute, and I think it appeals a lot to also Scandinavian culture. So I think that's why I like it as well.
Tom, what did you make of the Welsh song?
I was going to say, I just want to come back on a point Nicklas made about the Western countries. I did actually look at the detailed voting, and it's heartbreaking reading even for the Western countries on the Welsh entry, because a lot of the ratings were 17, 19, 15, and I'm not convinced it would have got more points, and I don't quite understand why, because I quite liked the song. As Luke said, I quite liked the way the camera kind of expanded and contracted at the start and the end of the song, and I don't even think it was down to the flat note, because I think, well, Israel got away with multiple flat notes. So, you know, I liked the song. It should have done better. It deserved better.
I'm going to just stick in a little political reference now. Brexit. Has Brexit affected the Welsh result? Are we going to find next year when the UK takes part in Europe that we're going to get no points again, regardless of what we send? Luke, what are your thoughts?
Oh, it's too difficult to say, really. And I mean, we are in the last few months of being in the EU, assuming whatever happens in the next few weeks. But I feel that, no, I don't think Brexit played a part in it, because I think kids are too young to realise the political landscape of what Brexit is. And I think the adults on the jury, I don't think they would be that remotely callous and, you know, give a child a bad place in the Eurovision Song Contest. I think it came down to the fact, as everyone said, it is an Eastern contest and they could connect better with the other countries. But what surprised me was the fact Ireland, in their jury, one of their jurors ranked us last on their list, and I'd say, well, hold on, your song's exactly the same. Is almost as similar to our entry. So that's a bit hypocritical, Ireland.
What do they know, eh? What do they know?
Exactly.
Anyway, look, it's the taking part that matters, and the result doesn't. So 12th isn't that bad, really, when you think about it. It is terrible, in fact. It's bloody awful. 20th is rubbish, but it's the taking part that matters, and she did fantastic.
Completely.
Moving on to Malta. So Malta, bit of a surprise package of the evening. Ella with the song Marching On. Ella's, she's talented. She was born in January 2006. She's 12. She's been singing since 2012. She first participated in the national final of Junior Eurovision back in 2016. That's the thing with Maltese singers; they do try to get through to their to the Eurovision competitions as many times as possible. It's a big thing in Malta. She has represented Malta in more than 5 other international competitions, including New Wave Junior in Russia, where she came second. Ella won the Euro Pop contest in Berlin last November. She came first out of over 70 singers aged between 10 and 26 years of age. A massive achievement for Malta there. Malta have participated 13 times, have won twice. Last time in 2015 with Destiny, which fans of the UK will remember took part in Britain's Got Talent quite recently. Malta, Luke, what are your thoughts on Malta? Did they do well enough? They were second in the jury, finished 5th in the end.
Well, and this is the example because she is an experienced individual. I think it did do the song justice because as you said, she's won a competition against adults. It shows that she's more she was more competent on stage, and she actually did seem more competent and extremely confident when performing. I think personally, hands down, this entry was one of the only ones I actually listened to before the event, and it didn't sound the best on the studio recording, but live performance, I thought, actually, you know what? This might be the dark horse of the night. It just might get in and win.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I thought it could do very well indeed. Nicklas, Malta, was that a favourite of yours?
See, I think my issue with this song is that, because I agree, she was very experienced, you could definitely tell, but I think the issue with this, and what's been the issue for me with some of the Maltese entries in Junior Eurovision, is that sometimes it gets a bit too polished. Like, you start the song and you kind of know what to expect, and I didn't really like her high note at the end. That's not my style. I didn't like that. There's nothing wrong with the song, and I can see why the juries ranked her so high, because she is so professional, and she definitely went into this knowing that she could do well. But I can hardly remember the melody of the song, and yet I understand why it did so well. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Tom, Malta, did that float your boat?
I like the song. I like the vocal. The one thing I think that probably made it get the place it did as opposed to winning is probably the performance. I thought those dancers looked a little bit out of place at times. And I thought the performance itself didn't necessarily gel as a package, whereas the vocal and the song and everything I thought was really good.
And I mean, I thought from my point of view, I like the song. I like the singer. I wasn't surprised it did so well with the juries. Malta are always really strong at Junior Eurovision. They certainly have been in the last few years. And equally, I wasn't surprised it didn't win. You know, it's one of those ones that you knew was going to do well. Same with Australia. You knew Australia were going to do well. It comes down to whether they're going to get the popular vote, and on this occasion they didn't. Didn't surprise me. I think it was probably one of the better songs. So finishing 5th overall, I think is fair game. So I mean, it's appropriate we finish with Poland. Poland are our champions. They've started 20th. They finished 1st. Roxana with the song "Anyone I Want to Be." She's 13. She won the first season of The Voice Kids in Poland. Her coach, this is great for Eurovision fans, her coach on The Voice Kids was none other than Edyta Górniak from 1994, with probably Poland's best ever Eurovision entry, except for the 2 girls churning the milk.
Yeah, that was an experience.
It was, and it's a long story, but I'll save it for another time.
So Roxana discovered she could sing whilst taking part in a judo camp karaoke session, and has been a singer ever since. Her first single, Live, received 8 million views on YouTube. Roxana has over 200,000 followers on social media, and her debut album is out soon, which is quite good for her, because clearly now she's a Eurovision winner. That's going to help her, and more people are going to buy her album now. Poland, Luke, did they deserve to win Junior Eurovision?
Well, I think part of me wants to say yes, but another part of me wants to say no. But looking on the positives, why I think it did win, primarily because A, she's won the Voice Kids, and B, she had as her mentor one of the biggest names in Poland looking after her, and she sort of has built her up and built her confidence up on stage. She's someone who's been on a Eurovision stage and knows what it's like to perform in front of millions. And let's not forget, Dima Bilan was like that in 2008, because he was the biggest name in the whole of Eastern Europe and Russia. And with someone at her age who's got 8 million views on YouTube, it is no surprise why she probably did, but she probably won the contest.
Nicklas, Poland, worthy winner for you?
Definitely. I'm so glad that they went with an internal selection this year, because I've really not liked Poland ever since they returned. I think they've sent really boring songs, but this one I really liked it, and I've been listening to it a lot. It's kind of a victory for Denmark as well. We had two Danish composers on the song, so maybe I'm a bit biased there, but no, I think it's a worthy winner. She had a great performance. You could tell that she's skilled. She sang it very well. The song is very well produced. Could just as well work in adult Eurovision. So I'm not surprised this one at all.
Tom, Poland, what did you think?
It stood out for all the right reasons. It wasn't my performance of the night, but at the same time, I mean, let's not take it away from them at all. I think, you know, fantastic performance, stood out, great song. Would it have won if it wasn't placed last, if it was, say, in the first half of today's contest? I don't know. But then we could say that about every song, couldn't we?
Very, very true. So 20 great songs, fantastic show. I thought there were 3 good hosts as well. And, you know, previous artist for Belarus in Junior Eurovision was one of the 3 hosts, a 16-year-old popular singer in Belarus, the other, and a TV personality. I thought they worked well as a trio. It was a good show overall. Sort of final thoughts on the show, Luke?
Very good return for UK viewers, especially. I thought it was produced extraordinarily well. It was almost like watching an adult Eurovision Song Contest, except only with kids involved. And it just felt like, you know, we were back there in Lisbon, watching Surrey. But hey ho, that's what we get for every Eurovision, watching every country in UK participate.
And Nicklas, distinct lack of Nordic countries in Junior Eurovision. What do we need to do to get Nordics back interested in this contest?
Well, I think it's a bit impossible. I follow, of course, also we still have our national selection, our kids MGP, and I watch the show. I enjoy it, but I can see why Denmark and other Scandinavian countries doesn't want to take part, because Junior Eurovision has become more and more professional. Like we've talked about, there are so many Voice Kids participants that are taking part in Junior Eurovision. It's so much about having the right staging, the right voice, the right song. And I don't think it necessarily puts pressure on the kids. I think especially the Danish broadcast they're a bit harsh when it comes to this. I don't think they should be as harsh on the contest. But that being said, I think this is definitely to show the countries, to get them interested in this, because it was produced fantastically. It had great songs, had great host, and I think this is a kind of a new beginning for the Junior Eurovision. I really hope that this will bring more countries and more interest back into the contest, because they show that you can produce a children's show in a professional way, and you can produce the show without it seeming like just another Sunday evening kids show, that it can compare with the adult contest. So I'm very pleased.
And Tom, final point for you on the voting. Do you think for the main Eurovision show next May, we should be able to vote for our own country?
Oh, that's a tough question. Do you know what? I'm going to say no because I'm a traditionalist, but also I'm going to say I had no idea how that voting system actually worked at the end of the public vote. I couldn't work it out.
Well, I think it's quite simple. The more expats you have around the world, the more likely you are to do well at Eurovision. Yeah, I think I quite like it because let's face it, no one else is going to vote for the UK.
Oh.
Well, I think I like it for the simple reason that I get to vote. I've been Junior Eurovision since 2010. That's when I started watching it again and taking part since 2005. I like that I'm able to vote. I think that's a good part of the contest. But at the same time, I also feel like it's not that hard to make a better voting system. I worked for a Eurovision fan site a couple of years ago. What we did when we did polls was that we could see people's IP, which meant that as soon as we saw that, okay, a bunch of Albanians have just gone in and totally rigged the voting, it was very easy for us to just delete those because we could tell that either all the votes came from Albania or they came from like false IP addresses. So for them to say that there's nothing they can do to make the system better, I don't think that's true. I think they can definitely work on it. And I wish they did, because if they work on it, I think it could work for the adult Eurovision as well.
And I think one thing is that when just on one last point with Wales and that in this is a lesson I think the BBC should learn when they're looking at the adult Eurovision, is to actually put more promotion and advertising into their entry, because this is what Wales did. The moment Manuel won Perta, it was being played on all the Welsh language radio stations. S4C were promoting the entry back and forth twice a day, and she was getting exposure on different Welsh language television outlets and radio. That's something that the BBC, when it comes to the UK, aren't doing much of than they used to.
Well said. Well said. And just on Wales, I think from the UK point of view, did us proud. Great to have Welsh language in the contest, and the same to Ireland. And fingers crossed we get some more Nordic countries take part in some point in the future. So I'd like to thank my guests. I'd like to thank Luke.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Stuart.
I'd like to thank Nicklas.
Thank you for having me on.
And Tom.
Cheers, thank you.
So you can rewatch this on YouTube. It'll be live now, ongoing. We'll also turn this into a podcast. You better download it on Spotify and also on iTunes. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us keep going. Like our page. Also subscribe to our podcast streams. That would be really appreciated. You can catch myself, Nicklas and Tom, and a few others, including Jason Darcy, with us on this Thursday, same time, 9 o'clock GMT, 10 o'clock Central European time, where we will be reviewing the Melodifestivalen 28 songs. They will be announced this week. We're going to review every single one and give some views on what we would expect to happen in the Melodifestivalen next February and March. Should be a good one. Some great names lined up already, and I'm very excited that Sweden actually might get back to doing rather well at Eurovision, because they've been hopeless the last couple of years. So thank you to all of the viewers and also the questions we've had and the comments we've had coming through. Really appreciate you supporting us. Please share this video as well when it comes out on ESC Fan TV. Hashtag ESC Fan TV. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of Sunday evening. God bless. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.